Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It is the 5th of March, 2022. I'm going to do a short market report and show you a few things that I do in HGSI. Now, this is my standard disclaimer, of course. If I mention any stocks, I'm certainly not recommending them. This is for educational purposes only, and I'm showing you as a viewer what you can do with the HGSI software. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Get this out of the way. Where I'm going to begin is in my market analysis user groups. These are for the Insider Club members. I'm going to go to folder number 1, Major Markets Plus. I'm going to click on my warehouse, and then I'm going up to my top folder, top-down process views for market analysis, and I'm going to click on 01. Notice I call this Major Markets Plus, includes ETFs. Well, I don't have ETFs in this view, but I'll get to that here in a minute. I do have one ETF in here, which is the total stock market ETF from Vanguard, which pretty much duplicates the NYSE, or it's relatively close. I decided to put this one in, but the rest are just the standard indexes with the exception of the Bitcoin Investment Trust. But what I want to concentrate on here, like I do every day, I update the NASDAQ composite. Now I'm going to click on my quick pick, go to my market charts, and click on number 1, NASDAQ internals. Use with NASDAQ, it says. Now I'll make this full screen today, and I'll bring up a pointer, and let's just take a look at some of these things that I look at every day. We've gone from C accumulation back to D accumulation. The volume was above average on Friday, and if you look back over here on the right hand side, you'll see that the volume bar is above the 90-day exponential moving average. That is why it's above average. The spread is below average and the close is mid. So we go back to the candle. You can see that this spread is smaller than some of the spreads around it, and the close is just about in the middle. The random walk trends I really don't use. Now the best fit trends are in here. Yesterday this was short term was still up, or on Thursday, but with this falling back, it has gone to down again. Now, as I send that snapshot out every morning, and I have been saying that the short-term trend was up, but the longer-term trend was still down, and now the short-term trend is down because the NASDAQ closed here. And for the long-term trend to turn up, what's going to happen, let me clear this out and do this again. What's going to happen is we've come up here. It tried to break out. You can see this, that it tried to break out. People chasing the early morning bids, and what happens, as often it's sold into, and then it failed. So now what we're looking for is a higher low from this low right here. So if on Monday this would hold and the market would take off and take out this area here, that would establish a higher high, and then the daily trend would begin to trend up. Now let's go back over here. You can see we're down almost 18% from the 52-week high, or this index is. The percent range, closing range, is 33.66 for the day. You can see the volume was heavier than normal. Now I want to point out there was a negative VPA flag on this day. If I click on that, look up here, it tells me it was a high volume down bar after an up move on high volume, which indicates weakness. So this volume on this day, the green bar, it was high volume because it was above the 90-day moving average, and then it reversed, which generated this VPA flag. Now I'm going to use my alternate I key, or you can click up on this icon right here for the data window. I'm going to scroll down. That's on Thursday. Let me click on Friday. Make sure you're on the right day. Scroll down, and then I can look at this information. Advancers were 811, decliners were 2545. The new highs versus new lows, 224 new lows compared to 50 new highs, just to illustrate how weak this market has been. So the NASDAQ is in a downtrend still on the daily chart. I'm going to hit the alternate W key for weekly. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. And here's the high. Here's a lower high. Here's a lower low. Continuing down here, it shot up, and then it came back down, established this lower low, which we looked at in the daily chart. So for this to reverse, it's going to have to really take out this high at this point where my arrow is right now to establish a weekly uptrend. And it's got a lot of work to do that. Okay, I'm going to go to a different chart. I'll just drop down to the new highs versus new lows. This reverts back to a daily chart. You can see the number of new lows going up while the number of new highs is staying flat. We're looking at the moving averages. You can see that I have the 200, the 100, the 50, and the 18 here, and everything's going down to reinforce the fact that we're in a strong downtrend on the NASDAQ. Now, if we look at the internals on the advancers versus the decliners, this is the advancing versus, or the AD line right here. It tried to go up here, but just like with the index, lower high, lower low, and we're down here. These highs did not come anywhere close to surpassing that, so it's trending down too. Now the composite isn't the market. I mean, the market's made up of stocks, sectors, groups, and so on. You all know this, but if you normally play big tech, high tech stocks, or stocks that are within the NASDAQ, you can see that it's really in trouble. So where do you look for strength? Well, I think you have to go down to the sector level personally. Now remember, I'm still in this same group here, but I'm going to go down to number 2, and the reason I'm doing that is because it brings all of these ETFs in with the major market indexes, and sorted on raw combo, which is the percentage price change one day. You can see that gasoline is at the top, and here's a chart of gasoline. I'm going to go to a different chart now. I'm going to go down to my daily analysis charts. I'll use chart number 1. Let's make this full screen, and you can see what's happened here. These blue lines are all pocket pivots, or volume pocket pivots. It's not necessarily a pocket, but it works, or the volume portion of it works. So if the volume over the past 5 or 10 days on an up day is greater than any volume on a down day from the previous 5 or 10 days, you're going to get a blue line like this, and it just tells you that the buying pressure has been strong in gasoline on every one of these days. Also, looking down here at the bottom, the volume point of control on this pullback here went from the bulls to the bears, and then right here there was a low volume test, confirmation of that test, and on the same day the volume point of control went positive. The 3 went negative for a day or two, and then 2 days, and then it turned positive after this, and there was a pocket pivot generated. So a lot of strength in gasoline, as you would expect. A very tight chart. This is a cup. Here's your handle, and it broke out. Let's take a look at the USO, the oil fund. You're going to see a very similar chart here. In fact, the same thing. 3 went down below the 6 for a couple of days here, and then it went up again. Now, we didn't get any positive VPA flags here, but we did get pocket pivots as the demand for this ETF increased. Okay, let's look up here. The ultra short VIX, of course, is up. Commodity-based ETFs are up. If you look over here at these columns, these are the Wyckoff indicators based on demand. As you can see on gasoline, very high, wide, very high. Same thing on oil, very high, wide, very high. The UVXY was high, spread below average, and the close was down. But looking at the chart over several days, you can tell that the volatility is up. Now, if you look in this column, you'll see some white areas with no text in them. That just means there's no volume on these indexes. I want to point out, looking at this column right here, the days since the 3 crossed the 6, the higher numbers indicate longer term strength. Now, I've included another video for Insider Club members where I'm doing a tutorial that I came up with on Friday. And I go into an explanation more about these columns. But if I sort on this, you can see this commodity index crossed over 51 days ago. 0 is always a crossover day. So 51 days ago on this commodity ETF, I'll make it full screen. So where was that crossover? Got the crosshair out, and let's see, you can see right here where the 3 crossed the 6, and it didn't look back. Here's a little blip, but look at this. This, if you look up here, high volume up bar closing on the high indicates strength and stopping volume. So big volume spike here as it closed near the high of the day. And it really hasn't looked back since in the 3 stayed above the 6, got real close here to crossing below, but well above the 18, and now it's into hopefully a climax run. Back to the warehouse view, so you can see where the strength is, see where the weakness is. Here's that VTI, the total stock market ETF, down at the bottom. It looks very similar to the NYSE. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You can do this yourself. Just sort on raw combo, and you can see where the strength is, where the weakness is. Bitcoin, it looked like it was going to break out. It couldn't get past resistance, as you can see. This is the investment trust. There's, everybody's assuming that Bitcoin is going to continue to go up and out, but pretty hard to go up when it's in a strong downtrend like this with a lot of resistance. Okay, I'm going to move on. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go down to the sector indexes, and I'll use the HGSI sector indexes. Just going to move down to my HGSI analysis. I'm going to look at number 3 here. It shows advancers versus decliners within the sector, and these are the groups, not the stocks. If you want to see the stocks within these sectors, you can see in the energy sector there are 3 groups up, or down, I'm sorry, and 6 up. Just change to the index group. And it tells you exactly where the strength is here. Look at exploration and production. 64 to 6 yesterday. Oil and gas services, 38 to 11, and so on. The weakness was in biofuels. Renewables were strong for a few days, and then they kind of gave it up. But this is where you really get the insight into the market. Now I'm going to end this short video and show you where you can look very quickly to get us a feeling for strength. I'm going to hit my alternate space bar. That takes me into all securities. Then I'm going to click on the warehouse views. I'm going to go to my daily prospecting scans. Click on market leaders. Look at all the green over here. A lot of strength in these VPA directional indexes, long, medium, short, and the fan uptrend. All of these should be up on the fan uptrend. So where's the strength here? We can click on the industries, and it tells you rail freight was on top yesterday with Union Pacific, but exploration and production dominates this group. Let's bring this up, the spectrum analyzer, and you can see that. Midstream, all of the oil stocks, steel producers are dominating the market leaders group. So if you want just a quick snapshot into where the strength is, just come to my market leaders view. These are all stocks that have an RS of at least 90 and a Kirkpatrick RS of at least 90, and they're no more than 7% down from their 52-week high. It's a very dangerous market, as you all know, because of the situation in Ukraine. This could go either way. Unfortunately, it's probably only going to get worse, and we'll see how the markets respond. A lot of people, a lot of traders are expecting a selling climax and a strong reversal to the upside, but that remains to be seen. But just looking at this particular image right here, you can tell that there's a bull market in some stocks, and there has been for quite some time. I'll just bring one chart up. I mean, the market looks terrible, but here's a bull market right here. So with HGSI and paying attention to the market, to the rotation within the market, there's always strength somewhere, unless you're into a total market meltdown like we saw in 2008 and 2009. That's it for my report. Those of you who are in the Insider Club are going to have another video to look at. And what I did is in my, let me close this up, user smart groups, you're going to find a folder called tutorials, and there's some scans in there that I put in yesterday. It shows you how to scan during the day with the intraday scan here. These stocks have the fan up, and their prices moving up, and it shows you intraday strength, and then you can apply the undercut and rally scans to find potential trades during the day. Anyway, thank you for listening. Have a good weekend, and protect your capital.